All right, everyone, we are live. Make sure you guys scan in real quick. All right, for anybody watching on YouTube, if you have any questions, you can always ask in the YouTube live chat, and I'll address it as we go. All right. All right, Eduardo checked in. Great. Who am I missing? Let's see. Okay. All right, cool. Eduardo, as soon as you have a chance, camera on, please. Ron has a birthday. He now takes classes outside. That's it. See how it is. He upgraded. That's what happens when you have a birthday. Anyway. All right, guys. So let's start. Got a lot to cover today. And tomorrow, don't forget, we're going to have test prep. So test prep is we're going to go over as many questions as we can, but it's to try to simulate the questions of the school or the state exam and see how you guys do. You're going to test yourselves, not me. I'm not testing you. I'm just going to try to give you the right answer after you guys answer, obviously. I'll give you the right answer. I'll give you some rationale behind it and try to figure out why you picked the answer you picked. And that's what we're going to try to do tomorrow. So today I'm going to make sure we go over chapter 30. It's going to be real quick because it's just reviews. And then under the math chapter, what I do is I don't go through the chapter, I go straight to math. So that means go straight to a couple questions. I'll show you how I answer these questions, what I do, the tips and tricks that I have for you guys, and hopefully that will work. All right, you cannot teach math. Math, you guys are all adults, so you already know math, right? In your own way. So that's what what I'm going to try to do is just break down the questions and make sure you understand what they're asking. All right, so here's what we got. We're going to go over other New Jersey laws and practices. We're going to start with ownership and conveyancing. What does this word mean? What does this mean? What is it? Transfer. There you go. Transferring. Okay. So transferring. You guys got to remember that word every time you see it. Eduardo, it's tough, man. Saturday you have an exam, just saying. Anyway. All right, ownership. Ownership, I'm sure you guys remember these words, dower and courtesy. Right? What is dower? What is dower? What is courtesy? Who can remember this real quick? Okay. Okay. I like the way you said it, your direct translation from Portuguese to English. So it's actually the reverse. Courtesy is that. So it's the right that the husband has on top of the wife's death. So it's the husband on top of the wife's death. All right. So dower is for the wife, Sebastian is writing, and courtesy for the husband. So back in the day, a lot of states had this dower and courtesy thing where whatever we own is 50-50. Therefore, when you die, your 50 becomes mine. Whenever I die, my 50 becomes yours. That's what it was back then, right? Dower and courtesy. Now, in 1980, May 28, 1980 to be more precise. New Jersey said no more. So New Jersey, sorry. Okay. In 1980, creation of any new dower and courtesy rights was abolished. So, what am I doing? All right, so we no longer have dower and courtesy in New Jersey. Done. Okay. So what does this mean? It means that what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. Simple as that. And what's ours is ours. So what's the difference between this? What is the difference between what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine, what's ours is ours? So if we don't prepare, and we talked about the other day about the prenup, right? If we don't prepare the prenup, then the state determines how the assets are distributed. So anything that you bought under your own name belongs to you. Anything that I bought under my own name belongs to me. Anything we bought together belongs to both, right? And there's just one exception. The exception is for joint possession. Joint possession is what? Joint possession of our main marital residence. So if it's our main residence, doesn't matter if it's before May 28, 1980 or if it's after May 28, 1980. Whether dower and courtesy exists or not, if it's our main marital residence where we live, where we sleep, then it belongs to both of us. Even if it's under my name only or under your name only. Okay? So we have joint possession in our main marital residence, no matter what. Okay? So it doesn't matter who owns it. Okay? Now, why is this important for you guys to know? Why do you need to know, is dower courtesy applicable here or is it not? Is it the primary residence and you guys are married or are you not? Right? Why is this important? Who can tell me? Why do you need to know this? Okay, in case you have a client that's married, go ahead. Perfect. All right. So you go show a house to a client, right? And they want to buy. They want to buy the house. Great. Are you married? That should be a question. I mean, be a little bit more discreet, a little bit more sensible about the situation. But you got to ask, are you married? Right. You're going to list a house. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I am going to help you sell this house. By the way, are you married? If so, is it under both names? Is it under just one name? Regardless of which, both parties must sign. So I cannot list this property without your spouse's signature. Okay? When you put a contract together on the purchase, you're married. Congratulations, right? Unfortunately, I need to know if your spouse is going to be on the deed as well, right? Make sure you always consult with an attorney. But I need to know this to see if I put both names or just one name. You guys understand? So you always got to ask if they're married. All right. Stephanie said because of homestead. Well, dower courtesy, homestead, and right of election or elective shares, they all have to do with the same thing, which is who owns what. Is it both of us or just one or the other? But homestead is the residence, principal residence. So always belongs to both. So going with that thought, Stephanie, we attach what Lady Anne was saying. The signature of both is required regardless of who owns the home, the primary residence. Okay? If it's not the primary residence, again, are you married? It is under both names. Oh, it's not. It's just my house. Great. Could you consult with your attorney before we list this? Just want to make sure that it's okay to list and it won't bring you any type of complications. Do realtors ask this stuff? No. Should you ask this stuff? Absolutely. All right? So in fact, it says right here, licensees handling property sales for married couples need to know if the property is owned. Need to. It's not should. Because you must, you have to, right? If it's owned by one or both spouses, and when the property was purchased, so as to obtain the appropriate signatures on the sales contracts and deeds. Eduardo, I see you put your hand up. Do you have a question? You on the mic? Yeah, well, okay. All right, we're giving the mic. Go ahead. No? No question? No mic? I asked you right there. It's not working? Okay, I'm gonna unlock all of you. Give it a try now. Unmute yourself.
Okay. Oh, you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. What about when you're not married?
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, Eduardo from the car. Go ahead. Now, what's your question?
Now, my question is, what about when you're not married yet, but you're living together with someone, you have family? No, you're not married legally.
Okay. You're not married legally, so are you married?
Same thing apply?
No, the question is, you're not married legally, so are you married? What's the question?
No, I'm single, but I'm asking just in case I have a friend that I had to give any advice.
It's always the friend. I know how it is.
I know you
That's why Youre was laughing, no? It's always a friend. It's a friend of a friend of a friend. In reality, it's me. So the question still was, are you married? If you're not married, then things are a little different. It does apply in New Jersey for title purposes. It does apply once you die, she gets it. Or he gets it, right? Preferences, right? So it doesn't matter. The spouse, whether married or not married, the significant other gets the property according to laws of descent. What we're talking about here is immediate title to married people. So if you're married, right? If you're married, this is an automatic thing. Okay? If you're not legally married, as you're asking, like you just live together, then the title transfer does not happen, or the requirement does not happen when you're trying to sell the property. Okay? If you die, then Stephanie, you can hear me or no? Yeah, okay. So if you die, Eduardo, then your significant other, whoever you live with, right, might have rights to it depending on how long she or she has been living there, and the contributions that were made to the house and all that stuff. Might have some rights. Again, these are legal questions, obviously, that you have to ask at the time. But when you go sell the property, if you're not married and the title's under your name, well, sucks, right? Unless the person is on title as well, and then you're TICs, tenants in common. Okay. So now we're covering chapter 30 of this book that I use. Would it be purchased as joint tenants? So to be purchased as joint tenancy, that means that we chose to purchase that way, right? So if you're married, you automatically have that joint tenancy, which is tenancy by the entirety. It belongs to both as a whole, right? Married people only. If you're not married and you want to have that right of survivorship, then you need to purchase as joint tenants, right? Even though, because you're not married at this point. Again, when we're talking about dower and courtesy and joint possession of it, dower and courtesy, that means you are married. And if you are married and both of it's their primary residence, but it's under just Eduardo's name, then it belongs to both parties. If you're not married, then it belongs just to Eduardo. Or the other way around. I don't know if Eduardo's trying to save the property or get the property. I don't know which one it is. Yeah. Gilbert, camera. Good. Gotta pick on people always. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you got married in New York, but you live here. But where's your primary residence? Okay. New Jersey. Okay. It doesn't say where you got married. It says if you're married. Yeah. And your primary residence is here. Then state of New Jersey says automatically you have joint possession. So when you die, he gets it. When he dies, you get it. If you sell, it belongs to both, so both of you must sign. If you move to Florida, then it's whatever Florida says about the property there. The property here becomes an investment property.
It's basically
Where you sleep. Think about it this way, where you sleep. Okay? Okay, it's not the state where you live. Think about it's where you sleep. So if you sleep in New Jersey, that's your primary residence. That's the laws that apply to your property. Yes. Okay. Okay, good. All right, condo conversion. So a condominium, you guys already know what it is, right? It's a bunch of units and everybody has a common interest, right? The common areas, right? And this is regulated by the Horizontal Property Act and the Condominium Act, obviously. I want you to go to the next page. If you're trying to convert a condominium, let's say you have to a condominium. Let's say you have an apartment building, and that apartment building has 100 units, right? As an example. And now you say, you know what? I'm tired of being a landlord. Let me sell the building, right? For you to sell the building as a whole, it's like a bundle. You're not going to get as much as you'd expect. But sometimes with a small conversion, which is independent utilities, right? With a small conversion, now you're selling each individual unit, you might get more money. So instead of getting 10 million as an example, you're going to get 12 million. And the conversion costs you 200,000. That's a great return on investment, putting 200 to get another almost 2 million, right? So that is all great. That's fine and dandy, but can you do it from today till tomorrow? According to the Horizontal Property Act and the Condominium Act, for you to convert to a condominium, you have to wait at least, right here, sorry, got to give at least a 3-year notice, okay? 3 years and actual 2 months. So 3 years and 2 months before you can convert. So you have to give them a notice that says, hey, we're going to start the process of condo conversion. And the condo conversion takes 3 years. Even though the whole process might take 6 months, the construction side of it might take 6 months, the state of New Jersey says you got to wait 3 years. Why? Part of it is because some people fall under this. They are protected. They cannot be forced to move, right? Part of it is because of this. The other part is because of development rules, okay? Hey, Rob, go ahead. I'm going to give you the Zoom session real quick. Check in, please. Quick. All right. So again, condo conversion is I'm tired of being a landlord. I'm going to convert it and sell the individual units, right? So I got to wait 3 years and 2 months before I can actually complete the conversion. And certain people are protected. Certain people are protected. Now, who is protected? Sorry, I had to mute Rob for a second. Your microphone was on. Who is protected? Senior citizens, right? Where their income is lower than 3 times the average income of their county, or no more than 50,000. Rob, I got you. Come back to the class. I checked in for you. All right, where their income is no more than $50,000. They must have lived there for at least a year, with at least longer than 1 year, and technically it's a 2-year thing, right? They must have lived there for at least 2 years, right? And they're older than 62 or have some type of disability. I mean, or people with disability also qualify for the same thing. So, before we read anything else, people that are 62 or older or have a disability that have lived there for at least 2 years, right, to simplify things, with an income no more than $50,000, right, they qualify for this protection. That means out of 100 units, I got 2 people that qualify for this. I cannot evict them because I'm doing a conversion. Everybody else that I gave the notice with a 3 years, right, 3 years and 2 months notice, everybody else I can say, you know what? Get out. I'm evicting you because this is what I'm doing, right? These people, these 2 people, I cannot do so. I have to keep them as tenants, okay? Now, to qualify for this, also the building must be 5 or more units. They meet the same income standards, lease, and number as senior citizens. I covered that. They're unable to work because of their disability, or even veterans with 60% or more service-related disability. They are also protected. They cannot get kicked out from the apartments because of condo conversion. Now, that's a good thing and that's a bad thing. It's a good thing for the people. They are protected. But for the landlord that's trying to get rid of the building, right, it's a little tough because now I'm stuck with 2 tenants. In this example I was giving, I'm stuck with 2 tenants. So at this moment, I have to sell 2 units together to somebody that wants to invest. I can still get rid of it, but those 2 units, people have to buy as an investment, not as a move-in. You got it? And I cannot, obviously, I cannot increase their rent and all that stuff. They're protected. Now, if they qualify for these requirements, they can stay there for up to 40 years. Why are you opening your mouth like that? Like, oh, 40 years. Oh my God. Well, think about it. If they're 62 or older, or if they have a disability, they're on fixed income. Trying to move them now, where are they going to go paying the same rent? It's difficult to qualify. So that's why it's a protection. It's a great thing for the people that are in that type of situation. How many people would know about this? How many of you knew about this? Yeah. So imagine you reach the age of 62, right? You're living in your place. You're comfortable because the rent is really low compared to everybody else. You're just going for the ride. I'm going to die here because it's only like $800 that I'm paying, as an example, right? And then all of a sudden somebody says, I'm going to convert to a condo, get out. What are you going to do next? You're going to pay $3,000 somewhere else? Right? It's tough. So, protection. Oh, some of these leases, by the way, and some of these protections are not grandfathered in. Meaning, if you die and the kids take over, right? As a landlord, I might be able to kick you out now. And I'm saying this because this happened in Portugal, by the way, as an example. It happened here as well. I know of a place in New York. I was told by one of our realtors here, a family member in New York has been living in New York, right? It belonged, the apartment belonged, or the rental belonged to their grandfather, and they're still paying $500 or $600 a month in New York, like almost in the middle of Manhattan. Okay? Now that's one where you can, you know, jaw drop. $500 or $600 or something like that a month. Very close to Manhattan. That is amazing. I want to be the grandkid. I'll Airbnb the whole thing. You kidding me? I pay $600. Airbnb is like $5,000 a month. That's it. That's it. Great deal. So what I was going to say with this, what I was trying to say with this is that in certain instances you might not be able to do so. So it depends on what the lease says and depends on what the law says in that particular state. So I was telling you in Portugal, for instance, again, this from a family member. The father was there since 1960 something in that apartment, and in that house, actually, not the apartment, the whole house, and he was paying like 83 euros, like $100 a month. That was it, right? The average rental in that area for that type of property is around 900 a month right now. The daughter is the one living there. The daughter's been going for the ride for the past 20 years, just paying 100 euros or $100, I'm sorry, a month, right? Imagine that. As a landlord, I'm now stuck with you at $100. Like, I put up with your dad, right? Great person, whatever, whatnot. But hey, he died. Now it's time for me to bring the rent back up to what it's supposed to be. So just like in New York, in this particular scenario, in Portugal, same thing. All right? So seniors are protected. You cannot kick them out. But the children might not be at all. So it's certain leases in certain laws in certain states and countries are not grandfathered in. All right? Next. Deeds. We covered this, as it says here in chapter 6. To have a valid deed, the grantor must be at least 18 years of age or older and of sound mind. You guys got that. The acknowledgement. If you guys remember what acknowledgement is acknowledging the signature. So the signature being witnessed and signed by a notary public that says this person is who he or she says to be or claims to be, right? Now, New Jersey, look what I have in green. New Jersey does not require that all deeds, mortgages, or similar documents be acknowledged. There's no requirement to have it notarized, right? But if you want to record them, the state does require to be acknowledged before they can be recorded into public records. Okay, so this might be a question. I mean, the question itself is not going to be, does it have to be recorded? No. But the question might be, if you guys remember, we had 3 people that purchased the property, right? Who is the one that has the best claim? Is it the one that lives in the property? Is it the one that recorded the deed? Or is it the one or has possession of the deed? Or is it the one that paid the most, right? The best evidence of title obviously is going to be the document, right? So having it recorded, right, is stronger than anything else usually, right? So what they're going to put something there is this guy had it as a deed. Does it have to be notarized or not before it gets, or acknowledged before it gets recorded, or who has the strongest claim, and so on. So something around those things is going to be the question, right? It's either who has the strongest claim or because it was acknowledged is the strongest claim. No, acknowledgement is not required. But if you do want to record the document into public records to have a stronger position to prove your authority, right? Like you're placing the flag and saying, hey, this is my territory. That's what we record for. Then it must be acknowledged, must be notarized. Okay? Next thing, life safety features. When all other requirements of the conveyance transaction have been met, New Jersey requires that all 1 to 2 family dwellings be certified by the local government to contain at least 1 carbon monoxide detector, the appropriate number of smoke detectors, and at least 1 fire extinguisher. So, New Jersey says for all 1 to 2 families, 3 or more, we don't care. But 1 to 2 families gotta be protected. Fire extinguisher, carbon monoxide detector, just in case, right? And smoke detectors all over. Now, obviously, every municipality can require more, right? For instance, where I'm at in Newark, they require smoke detectors in each room, not close to the rooms, inside the rooms, smoke detectors, and they have to be hardwired with battery backups. The carbon monoxide is required to be within 10 feet of each room. So these are the Newark requirements. These are not the state requirements. You guys understand? So every municipality can ask for more than what the state asks for. Transfer tax. You guys already know that when you sell the property, you have to pay what's called a realty transfer tax fee. Right? We went over how to calculate these things. I'm going to skip for now. Right? As far as land use development. So land use obviously is what you can do with the property. And we got here real quick ISRA. ISRA is Industrial Site Recovery Act. Industrial properties, something to remember real quick. If it's an industrial property, most likely there's chemicals involved. If there's chemicals involved, what you need to remember is that before there's a transfer from one person to another, from one company to another, right? From a use to another, the property must be tested for potential hazards. Okay? That's all it is. So it must be tested. What did I do? Okay. The act requires efficient and timely cleanups prior to closing. That's what it is. Wetlands Act of 1970. So we talked about this in the national portion. So it's the same thing here. The Wetlands Act of 1970 pretty much protects any water, right, or properties near the water where you might have what's called, if you guys remember, where we might have what's called riparian rights, right, or littoral rights. So just because it's your property, right, and you have rights to use the water, doesn't mean you can damage the water. So if you intend to build any type of structures, do excavation, apply any pesticide that could lead to the water or any similar activity, you must request permits to do so. Okay, that's pretty much what it is, right? You got to see right here any recommendations to avoid or minimize negative impacts on wetland wildlife. Not just the wildlife. Water travels, right? And we consume water from several different sources. So if the water is contaminated upriver, downriver, where we're collecting water, as an example, to turn it into, to bottled water or anything like that, it could affect us in that way. Right? So anything, Wetlands Protection Act, as it says, is to protect any activities near the water that could affect wildlife or any other water, right? Now, natural events that affect the land and ownership, we have accretion, reliction, and avulsion. You guys remember these words or no? No, right? Accretion. Addition. Accretion is addition. So it's an increase or gaining of land. So you have property right by the water, right? Whether it's a lake or it's a river, and anytime you're gaining land, right? That is called accretion. Why would you gain land? Because over the years, the water is moving materials towards your property or away from your property. That would be called erosion, right? Taking property away. So building of materials or depositing materials onto your land, which gradually increases your land, right? It's called accretion. Reliction, very similar. It's a gradual increase in land area due to the receding of a body of water or a shift of the course of the river or stream. The land thus is uncovered is regarded as alluvion and treated according to the rules of accretion. So you're gaining because of a change of the the water itself. So now you gain land because the river, instead of being here, now it's over here, right? And this happens. You guys can search. It just happened recently. I think it's somewhere in Mexico, where during one of those great nature complaints against our world, nature said, "You guys are not behaving, so here comes a tornado, or here comes, what do you call it? Just lost the word. But something that nature says, I'm going to punish you, right? And all of a sudden, the river was over here, and it's no more. The river is now here. So if this was your property, you know you owned up to half of that river, right? Well, the river is gone. It's on the other side. So now you gained this piece of land. Okay? So reliction. Avulsion. Okay? Avulsion is a sudden loss of land. So similar to what I was talking about now, due to river jumping its bank. Okay, so a lot of these words you're never going to use at all, but you got to know for state exam. Okay, so accretion, gaining land. Reliction is losing. It's gaining land. On one side, avulsion is you lost the land, somebody else took over. So this is the opposite of this in the scenario of river jumping the bank, for instance. And then erosion, just like accretion, is a gradual loss of area. Right? So you had land, and then the waters keep on taking that land away. You're losing it. So one or the other could happen. Accretion, waters bring material and increases. Erosion, waters take material and you lose. If you have any questions, please ask, okay? All right, skipping a few things. Right here, New Jersey Pinelands Protection Act. Might be a question in the state exam regarding Pinelands. Okay. So New Jersey Pinelands Protection Act. The purpose, as it says here, is to protect pine oak forests, cedar swamps, and surface and groundwater resources that provide a unique habitat for rare and endangered plant and animal species. Okay, this is known as pine barrens. If it says here, no. So I don't know if you guys ever heard of this. So pine barrens is water. I'm sorry, it's areas that are protected because again they're rare or endangered. So if you don't have any more of these animals or any more of these plants or whatever, they want to make sure that they are preserved. And yes, New Jersey does have these areas. There's 9 spots actually in New Jersey. You have to remember, Pine Barrens or Pinelands Protection Act has to do with protection, pine oak forests, so easy, pinelands, pine oak forests, cedar swamps, surface groundwater that provide habitat for rare and endangered plants and animal species. All right, under developments on the next page, we talked briefly about this. I don't know if you guys remember on chapter 25, Planned Real Estate Development Full Disclosure Act. When you are developing something, and it also talked about interstate property. You guys remember interstate property? Right? Out of state property. So it falls under the same act where there are certain requirements. The requirements of disclosures, requirements of additional cancellation or rescission process, right? So if you remember, state of New Jersey allows you 3 business days to cancel a contract, right? But if it's an out-of-state property or interstate property, right? Or if it's a big development of condos, co-ops, subdivided land with more than 100 lots, right? Planned unit developments, townhouses, and so on, now there has to be a POS, which is not what you're thinking. It's a public offering statement, right? Means we have to advertise to the world what are we proposing for the development itself. Not just the one house, it's the whole development. What are we proposing? They must be public. Everybody must be made aware. And given the 7 days to cancel any land purchase agreement. So this applies to both, if you remember, to both interstate properties and to large developments in New Jersey. Okay, Stephanie, I got it. All right. So remember that this applies also to interstate properties. The next thing we have as part of our reviews for New Jersey is building regulations. Now, what are building regulations? It's a type of land use control, right? A land use control by the government. The government says what you can and cannot do with the property, right? It also says, hey, what type of material can you have on the walls? What type of material can you have behind the walls? What type of electrical material? What type of fire restraint material you must have, right? So this is called building regulations, and it's under the Uniform Construction Code. That means across the United States, there are standards. Across the whole state of New Jersey, for the state of New Jersey, they have their own standards. And then we go back to the local municipalities that also have their own standards. This being said, right, the state proposes one thing, the city might ask for more. As I mentioned before with the smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, and so on, right? But these codes, building codes, are created to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public, right? So you cannot build whatever you want. Remember we talked about this? You cannot build just whatever you want. You have to ask for a permit. If you don't, right, and your construction, right, Stephanie, you're with me? Okay, kick everybody out of the room, guys. It's me and you and I. That's it. So, everybody, please. It's the last day. Tomorrow's test prep, and then we have, on Saturday, we have the exam. We're almost done. After Saturday, you guys will schedule your state exam, right? And then you're done with this. Then you can go back to all your distractions if you want. Just saying. All right. So, this is me protecting you. Building codes is to protect the general public. Me telling you these things is to protect you so you can pass the exam. All right? Unless you want to come back to class and listen to the same old jokes. I come up with maybe 1 or 2 jokes per class, 2 new jokes per class, but 99% of them are the same jokes. Right? Just saying. Right, Sebastian? Yes. Okay. Cool. Anyway. Where was I? So why do we have these things? If you guys remember the story of the 3 little pigs, we went over this, right? The 3 little pigs. Stephanie was the one that talked to us about the 3 little pigs, right? The story was that 3 pigs built 3 different building structures. And 2 of them burnt down real quick, right? But 1 stood tall, right? That one became the standard for all construction types from there on. Are you guys understand this? So again, if your house burns down, most likely it's going to burn the one right next to you, and the one right next, and the one right next. So there are certain standards that must be in place. You cannot build whatever you want. You are required to get permits for any of this work and any changes of use in the building. Okay? If you build something new, if I'm going too fast, let me know. Again, I'm just using this as reviews. If you build something new, then the builder has to apply for a warranty and has to register with the state that it's a new construction and they are guaranteeing the work that they did. So the warranty is a manufacturer's warranty. Hey, if your house starts sinking, it's brand new, so come to me. I built it. Come to me. I'm responsible for fixing it. All right? Or applying for insurance or the warranty to fix it. So that is a requirement. And they have to give coverage against material, workmanship, and system defects. Okay? All right, the safety requirements. We already covered this. 1 to 2 family, 1 smoke detector in each level of the dwelling. Smoke detector within 10 feet of each bedroom, 1 carbon monoxide detector, and 1 fire extinguisher. You guys know what this word means, right? Dwelling? Yes? Okay. What does it mean? Since you're going like this. What does dwelling mean? The place I stay in. Okay. Living space. Marlon says structure. What? Structure and building? The structure or the building? Yes. Structure. I know. I was just messing with you. So it's the structure. It's the building. So look. 1 smoke detector on each level of the dwelling. So if it's a 2-family, right? Then each unit in the dwelling, in the building, the structure, each unit must have its own smoke detector. Okay, so dwelling will be the structure. It doesn't necessarily need to be, Sebastian, the place that you live in, because if it's an investment property, the building is still the dwelling that you don't live in or sleep in. As I said before, each municipality may require additional detectors or extinguishers as they see fit. All right, until now we've been talking about the 1 and the 2 family. We never talked about 3 or more, right? So in the state of New Jersey, 3 or more units now fall under the hotel and motel health and safety law. So they have different rules for multiple units, right? You still have to have the smoke detectors. You still have to have the fire extinguisher, carbon monoxide, and so on. The biggest difference is that they inspect the property. For instance, hotels, they inspect the property every 3 years to see if they're still in the required condition with the safety, the fire extinguishers, carbon monoxide working, and so on. In the 1 to 2 family, they only inspect if there's any change. Like you ask for a permit and you're getting a CO. Or if you're selling the property, depending on the city that you're in, they might require a CO at the time of sale, right? And the smoke inspection at the time of sale. So for hotels, every 3 years. For 3 or more units, every 5 years, they'll inspect your property for these conditions. That's pretty much the biggest difference between the 1 and 2, right? And 3 or more. All right, you guys, your favorite chapter, right? Finance. That's your favorite chapter, right? Jose, dwelling equals residential building. There you go. So financing. Under financing, we have mortgage, finance, and then we're going to talk about taxation right after. Actually, let me do this. A mortgage is not a loan. So what is a mortgage? If a mortgage is not a loan, what is a mortgage? Who remembers this? Okay. Perfect. I'm just laughing at what they're writing. So Liliana had a perfect answer. Let's see what your answers were. All right. So Whipping says pledge. Okay. Josh says death grip on the house. Dre says lien. Marlon says promissory note. Okay. Eduardo says death of lien. Okay, so Marlon, promissory note is the loan. The mortgage is not the loan. Okay? So the mortgage is the lien. Because you're using the property or have a grip on the property, right? Which is now the collateral for the loan, it's the security. So the mortgage represents the house. Therefore, the mortgage itself is not the loan. The mortgage is the lien. Okay? Now, as Lydiana was saying, the mortgage is a document that says the homeowner or the owner of the property or the borrower of the property is giving the house to the bank, right? In the form of a paper that says, if I don't pay the promissory note, use this paper, take me to court, and take the house away from me. All right? The promissory note is the loan. The mortgage is the lien. Promissory note is the loan. The mortgage is the lien. Okay? Hey, Ruth. Thank you for answering. There you go. You did the same thing as Dre. You wrote lien, L-E-I-N, and then you corrected it. Very good. All right, as you guys are writing the notes, Dre, did you speak to Kathy already? No? You're fired. That's it. Terrible, terrible. All right, interest rate. So, first of all, what is interest? What is interest? What do you guys remember about interest? What is interest? Say it louder. The right or interest? Okay, well, interest in the mortgage. Or in the loan. What is interest in the loan? No, that's perfect. That is perfect.
It's the money that the bank charges.
It's the money that the bank charges for allowing somebody else to use the money. Great. So interest is a charge, right? Very good. But your answer was correct if I was talking about interest in real estate. What is interest in real estate? Then it's a right or a benefit that somebody has. Correct. In this case, interest is a charge. Interest equals charge. Interest is a charge. Now, why is it a charge, right? Because for as long as you use, as Stephanie just wrote, for the utilization, right? For as long as you use my money, I'm charging you that rate of interest. Once you stop using my money, I don't charge you anymore. So I'm gonna lend you, Pollyanna, correct your name on Zoom, please. So I'm gonna lend you money to buy the house for 30 years. Do you have to wait 30 years to pay off? No, you can pay it off in 2 days if you want to. Then you'll be charged interest for 2 days. So the interest is a charge for as long as you're using someone else's money. Interest is a charge for as long as you're using the money. Okay? Now, in New Jersey, now interest, there are certain limitations. If you charge too much interest, then you're taking advantage of somebody else, right? When you charge too much interest, you're taking advantage of somebody else. And that is called, do you guys remember what it's called? When you're taking advantage and charging too much interest? Use the what? Usury.
Usury.
Criminal usury limit in New Jersey, meaning the most that you can charge, that you can charge in New Jersey is 30% for individual non-corporate borrowers. Individual non-corporate borrowers, right? And by the way, let me just correct something here. The 30% charge, it doesn't say here in this book, but the 30% charge is if you're buying the house that I live in. I'm going to go live somewhere else, right? I'm forced to move, so I'm going to charge you more interest. In a regular transaction, a house that I don't live in, the maximum that I can charge, and if anything, this is going to be on the exam, would be this part, is 16%. So the usury rate in New Jersey is 16%. Private lenders cannot charge more than 16%. Private lenders cannot charge more than 60%. Institutional lenders, they're exempt from usury laws. They can charge whatever they want. Next, prepayment. New Jersey law does not allow lenders to charge prepayment penalties. So for mortgage purposes, if you guys remember, government loans, FHA or VA, have no prepayment penalties, but conventional loans could have it, right? Jersey says, I don't care if it's government or non-government. For mortgages, there's no prepayment penalty. So if a bank charges you a prepayment penalty, right, you can dispute that fee. What is prepayment? Paying earlier than was projected. That's what it is. All right. Any questions here? No, we're good so far. All right. So now that you paid off your mortgage, congratulations, right? You paid off your mortgage. Yes? Amazing, right? Does that mean you're free and clear and nobody can do anything against your property? Why? You have to make sure, yep, that they release the lien or discharge the lien. Correct. So make sure if you pay the property off, whether on time or earlier, right? Like on the due date or earlier, make sure you always request the lien discharge. The lender is required to do so, but you want to make sure you have a copy of it. Okay. All right, Sebastian. Josh, why am I being charged for completing my loan before it's due? Simple. If I lend money to you, it's because I want to make money, right? If you pay too soon, did I make as much money? No. That's what it is. So I'm charging you a penalty for paying too soon. It's like the credit cards. Credit cards, some of them charge you a fee, a yearly fee. Why do they charge you a yearly fee? Well, in case you don't use the credit card ever, at least I'm making some money. Some credit cards close your credit card if you don't use it. Because the whole point of me extending you credit is for you to use it. And I make money, right? Interest, right? On the money you use. So that's why there's a prepayment penalty. Usually prepayment penalties are like 2 years. Like if in the first 2 years you pay me off, right? I'm going to charge you a point or two. That's what it is. Okay? Good? All right. New Jersey Home Buyers Program. I'm going to go briefly over this. That's really dumb. Why is it dumb? I need money. I'm a bank. Right? Look, all right, let's put it like this way. You're going to give me money, Josh. Why would you give me money? Because you expect what? Some type of return. Right? If I pay you off the next day, when our agreement was a 1-year agreement, if I pay you off the next day, how much money did you really make? If I charge you the whole year's interest, that would be called usury because you only use it for 1 day, not the whole year. So that would be excessive interest or excessive charges, right? But Josh, you were projected to receive $1,000, for instance, right? You're projected to receive $1,000 for me using your money. If I paid you the next day and you make $5, what's the point of being a lender? To make $5, right? So that's why they put that there. Like, I have to make money Otherwise, why would I extend credit to anybody? That's all it is. Money makes money. So is it a loophole they created to bypass the usury law? Remember, in Jersey, there's no prepayment penalty. But yes, it could be a way in certain states to bypass usury law. Yeah, you can think of it that way. All right. New Jersey Home Buyers Program. I'm not going to go through all these programs in detail because some of these are no longer in place or temporarily on hold. But if you're trying to buy a 1 to 4 family and you don't have enough money, or you don't have enough credit, right? If you're in low, moderate income, you might qualify for one of these programs. We have the Home Seeker program, which now is temporarily on hold. And it gives you $10,000 for first-time home buyers and veterans as their down payment. So the government is sponsoring your purchase. Here's 10 grand. Use it towards your down payment or towards closing costs. You have the Smart Start program. It'll give you up to 4% first-time home buyers. Look what it says. First-time buyers. Okay? Up to 4%, which you can use as a down payment or as closing costs in smart growth areas. You have the Homeward Bound Home Buyer Mortgage. Provides 10% or 4%, 10,000 or 4% for the same purpose. And this one, when it's available, right? Again, there's budgets, and then they either open the program or close the programs. This one, it could be used in addition to the amounts provided by the previous 2 programs. So let's say you qualify for the Home Seeker program. You get $10,000 towards the down payment. The Homeward program gives you 4%, right, towards the closing costs. So now, can you go into a house maybe no money down? Possibly. Okay? There's a lot of programs you guys need to get familiar with. There's a lot of programs at state level, at county level, even at municipal level. There's a bunch of programs for people to buy homes. Most realtors do not know about this. Most realtors do not care about knowing about this. Because realtors, you guys only see the check in front of you. You don't see the long term. And why am I saying this? Because if you are qualifying for any of these programs, it could take 6 months to a year for your buyer to be ready to buy. Because they need to go through seminars, for instance, or webinars. They need to go through certain additional hurdles in order to get the qualification. It's not just like a regular mortgage, right? So it might take longer. Me, every potential buyer is a buyer. Whether it's now or later, you just plant the seed. Okay, go through this program. Let me know when you're ready to buy a house. Not now, later, right? So know about all these programs. Know about all assistances that you can give to your clients. They might not qualify with Bank of America directly, but they might qualify with Bank of America through some of these programs. There's another one called, this is a national program called NACA, NACA. Bank of America, City Mortgage, and Wells Fargo give you below interest rates loans, and with low to no down payments, as long as you go through any of these programs. All right? So first-time homebuyer urban target area programs provide below market interest rates and down payment rates as low as 3.5%. And again, you can get the buy downs with these other programs. You guys good? Great. All right. Taxation. So when we're talking about taxation, we're talking about taxes on real property. We're not talking about income taxes or personal taxes, right? We're talking about real property taxes. That means what your land is taxed on. If it's land by itself, there's one tax. If there's land and a building on it, there's another type of tax, right? Now, there are some exemptions to taxes or discount to taxes. One of them is the Farmland Assessment Act. So if your property can be assessed as farmland, they will pay less taxes. Okay? Right here. Subject to certain requirements. So, to be considered farmland, to qualify for farmland, you must have owned the land and apply for it before August 1st each year. The most important one is this one, when they ask you the question in the state exam. The land must have been dedicated for farmland for at least 2 years prior to applying for the assessment. And you must have at least 5+ acres, not including the farmhouse land. So the 5+ acres is just land. The living space, the farmhouse, right, is separate from these 5 acres. The living space is where you occupy as an individual, is where you sleep, is where your kids play, is where you put the cars, where you have the pools, where you have the shed and all that stuff. That's living space. To qualify for farmland, you have the living space and another 5 acres. Okay? So, question. John purchased the property 20 years ago, and the property was used as farmland back then. When does John qualify for... So now John is selling to Mary. When does Mary qualify for the exemption, the farmland exemption? So John purchased the property 20 years ago and was used as farmland back then. Now John sells to Mary. When does Mary qualify for the exemption? Seven. Where did you guys get? You always throw some random numbers. Where does 7 years come from? Two years? After 2 years of purchasing? Okay, I'm going to hold on to that thought. Anybody else? When does Mary qualify for the exemption? Marlon, does she qualify because it was already used as farmland in the past? Okay, I'm going to hold on to that. I'll answer in a second. I'm trying to get more feedback from everybody. So John purchased a property 20 years ago, and back then it was used as farmland. John sells it to Mary. When does Mary qualify for the tax assessment? So for the discounted taxes. Ron says 2 years later. Okay.
2 years later, and she has to work.
He has to work to qualify?
I don't know how to say that. La agricultura, the owner
Has to be the owner?
The owner must be dedicated for farmland and agriculture.
Ron, the owner must use the land as farmland and not have it conveyed as farmland. Okay. All right. So let me address that. It doesn't say anywhere that the owner must farm. What it says is that the land must be used and dedicated as farmland for at least 2 years prior to applying for the assessment. So if I purchase the property, let's go with what Marlon said. Oh, because it was used as farmland in the past, does it qualify now? No. Unless it has been used for the past 2 years as well, before John sells to Mary, right? Unless it has been used for 2 years prior to John selling to Mary, then Mary must start using it as farmland, and 2 years after using it as farm, not from purchase, Ron, right? Not from the purchase, but from the moment they start using it as farmland. Now, do I have to farm as the owner? No. I can lease the land or the farm area to a farmer. I could rent it to somebody else. and let them farm. As long as the land is dedicated to farming for 2 years, then Mary can qualify for it. So if the question said, John is selling to Mary, right? And for the past 20 years, John has been using it as farmland, right? Now it's a consistent record of the use, right? Then Mary can take over the exemption. You guys got it? The key is that it's used, currently used as farmland. If it's not, then you're going to look for the answer that says 2 years after starting to use as farmland. It's not 2 years from purchase. That would be the wrong answer. Because if 2 years later she's still not using it as farmland, she still does not qualify. Yes. I saw that from your face. I got a question. You guys know what the Scooby-Doo face is? Like, huh? Yeah, that's what I got. So I knew there was a question coming.
No, it has something to do with that. Wait, straight to this.
Go ahead.
He bought a farm, 7 acres.
Is this the friend that smoked weed in the house?
No.
Okay, bought a farm.
Yeah, no.
Okay, that was yesterday's story. Weeping is laughing. It's like Weeping is the only one that always catches my stuff. Go ahead.
He actually just bought the little farm like last year.
Okay.
And he built a big space to create and take care of chickens.
Okay.
And he's gonna sell eggs.
Okay.
It's more than 100 little things.
Okay, so he bought a small farm, but enough to have a little space for chickens, and he's going to sell eggs. Okay.
Yeah, this is something. Is it involved agriculture or no?
That's part of it. Includes, right? Includes livestock, so cows, pigs. In this case, will be chickens. So as long as you're selling eggs, that's fine. You just got to make $500 in gross sales annually. So when he sells the eggs, right, he must make at least $500 a year to qualify for the exemption. But they have to have at least 5 acres as well. You got 7, then you're good. Perfect. All right. Very good. All right. Taxation process on the next page. In New Jersey, all property except for farmland and woodland is assessed using the same standard of value, the true value or market value, as of October 1st of the prior tax year. So until October 1st, right? I'm sorry, from October 1st to January 10th, the tax assessor decides what the value is going to be for your property. So October 1st, they say, hey, this is the property value. Until January 10th, they can change that value and give you a new bill for the new year. Okay, that's what it is. What can you do if you're not happy? You can always appeal the assessed value. Okay, because you have to remember, the taxes are the same for everybody. The taxes are based on whatever the budget was, right? It says right here, budget. So the taxes are based on the budget. If you guys remember from taxation chapter, we're going to divide the budget amongst every property in the area, right? Every taxable property. So the taxes are 3%, as an example. That's your taxes. Everything else is based on your property value. If your property is worth more than my property, you're going to have a bigger tax bill than mine. But the taxes are the same. It's that 3%, right? That's it. It's the same across the board. We all pay the same tax, 3%. Our tax bill is based on value. So if you want to lower your tax bill, not your taxes, your tax bill, right? Then you have to dispute the value of your property. That's what it is. Yes. I'm sorry, say it again. If you live close to a school, you pay more taxes. So your property might be worth more because it is close to a school. Again, the taxes are the same across the board in the city because the tax is a percentage of the budget, right? So we need $3 million. Make sure your cameras are on and you're standing still. So you need $3 million to meet next year's budget. What are we going to do? We're going to divide $3 million by all the taxable property. So again, that gives a percentage that everybody pays equal. Now, can your taxes be higher because you're closer to a school? Your tax bill, I'm sorry, be higher because you're closer to a school? Yeah, because your property is worth more for being close to a school. If your property is in a remote area, most likely your taxes are lower than somebody that's close to the commerce, somebody that's close to a train station, right? So transportations, to supermarkets, to all that stuff. Usually they're worth more. The assessed value. Okay. So your house, we're gonna could go over that in a second, but your house is worth $300,000. Right? That's your assessed value, not the market value. Okay, assessed value, right? The tax rate, which is the tax rate is 3%. Okay, that's your property. How much is the tax bill? This could be a question in the state exam. How much is the tax bill? Which is? Okay, so that's your yearly taxes. What if your neighbor's property is worth $250,000? The tax rate is the same. Got it? What's the tax bill? Okay, so these are the things you need to think about. They pay less taxes. If your property is far away from the center of everything, the school and all that stuff, maybe it's worth less. Or if it's not a popular area, right? Like we have the Ironbound pays the most taxes. Ironbound pretty much supports the whole Newark in terms of taxes because that's where all the commerce is. Ironbound and the Central Ward, which is where I'm at right now, right? Pretty much that's where all the commerce is. So any property close to the commerce, usually it's a higher value. So now South Newark and North Newark pay way less. But the property values, in comparison to the ones I wrote here, right? Let's say it's $150,000. The tax rate is the same. What is the bill now? Right? You see the difference? The tax rate is the same across the board. It's the 3% in this example. It's just that one property A, is worth $300,000. Property B is worth $250,000, and property C is worth $150,000. But did the taxes change? No, the tax bill did. The tax did not change. The tax is 3%. Your taxes are based on the tax rate and the value of your house. Okay? Now, if you're not happy, what are we appealing? Again, the value of the house, right? That's what we appeal. Oh, my house is not worth $300,000 compared to the neighbor. It should be the same. And a lot of people are like, why should I dispute the value of my house? I want it to be worth more. Because it's two different values. It's the assessed value, not the market value that you're disputing. Assessed value is what the city determines your property to be worth for tax purposes. For tax purposes. Market value is what an appraiser determines your property to be worth for sale purposes. So these are different. What are we appealing? The assessed value. Now, when can we appeal this stuff? From January 10th to April 1st, you can file an appeal. and they make the decision by November 10th. So at the end of the year is when they make a decision. Therefore, they're not making a decision for this year's taxes, they make a decision for next year's taxes. All right? We're beyond April 1st. So if you decide to open an appeal right now, are you appealing 2021 taxes? You cannot even start one because it's beyond April 1st. All right? So by January 10th, we're going to open an appeal on the taxes. Is that going to be 2022 taxes? No. If you wanted to appeal next year's taxes, you should have done until April 1st of this year. January 10th, you're going to appeal 2023 taxes. It's always the next year that you're appealing. This one is done. Because we're after April 1st, next one is done. So it's 2023. Can you open an appeal and that result for the new year ends up being higher? Absolutely. This is why you should have an appraisal done before you even start an appeal. Have an appraisal done before you start an appeal. Figure out what the appraiser thinks your property's worth for tax purposes. If you think it's going to be worth more, you stay put. Don't dispute anything. Simple. You spend $500-$600 for the appraisal, but at least you're not paying $2,000-$3,000 more in taxes a year. If the appraiser says, well, based on my report and based on what I see, I think you should be paying $2,000-$3,000 less than what you're paying now. All right, let's go forward. Let's appeal. Yep. Hold on. Joshua, how often do people win appeals for that? The key is having things on paper. You cannot go there and say, taxation board, Stephanie, my neighbor, pays less than I do, or pays more than I do. I need to dispute this. No. Okay, that was outside. Sorry. Sorry, we just had a noise here. That's why I stopped for a second. So the key is having something on paper. That's why I told you, get an appraisal first. An appraisal for tax purposes. Not for sale purpose, for tax purposes. Eduardo, Gilbert, cameras on, please. Oof, tough. What's your question? I did? Okay. Cool. Remember, this records the time that you're not on camera. And the less time you guys are on camera, the less it counts towards your hours. Stephanie, with the appeal, it would be considered a depreciation if then the appraiser believes it should be less. Remember, this is for tax purposes. For property taxes, not for a sale. All right? So there's two values. There's the assessed value for tax purposes, and there's the fair market value for sales. So yes, different appraisers, different opinions. The cool thing is that the tax assessor is not an appraiser. So the tax assessor is either going to accept the appraiser's report or dispute it, right? But that's when we bring everything to the tax court. When you bring it to the tax court, you can say, Your Honor, here's my expert witness, the appraiser. The tax assessor is not an appraiser. The tax assessor has no knowledge of the current market values. So who wins? It's the same thing as you saying I have a general doctor, right? Disputing this happened with me, like to get approved for the surgeries. The general doctor that's on the insurance side says, nope, not medically necessary to have a surgery. You're a general doctor. You're not a surgeon. Not a surgeon, right? So my surgeon, what he did is he contacted the insurance company and said, hey, can I have somebody that's at my level? Right? Not saying that I'm better or worse, but somebody at my level, meaning peer to peer, surgeon to surgeon. And by the way, not a heart surgeon. I want somebody that's a spine surgeon. And now let's talk. Is the surgery medically necessary or not? So when you go to court to dispute these things, guys, the appraiser is the most important part of the whole thing. There's a lot of attorneys out there that say, hey, pay me. Yeah, it's an expert witness. There's a lot of attorneys out there, hey, pay me and I will do the tax appeal for you. Right? An attorney is law. Law is law. What you really need is somebody that understands values. Because you're not disputing the law, you know you have to pay the taxes, right? What you're disputing is how much taxes you're paying. You guys understand? So the only party that you really, really need, right, Josh? So going back to what you're saying about how many times is it one, is because of you're not doing it right. So the only party you really, really need is the appraisal. So why not start there, right? And then you'll be more successful if you follow that step first, right? If you need to go to court, you want to get an attorney, now you can. And your expert witness, the appraiser. Okay? All right. Next page, we have tax liens. What is a tax lien? Again, tax lien. A lien is something that's against your property for an unpaid debt. In this case, it's the taxes. Every single year, you get a brand new tax bill. Congratulations, here's your yearly gift, taxes. Right? Every single year. You could pay off your mortgage, right? But taxes, every single year they're there. Now, with that being said, the tax lien has priority over anything else. So it does not matter who came first. Because a tax lien is a perpetual lien. It's always there against the property no matter what. So if you don't pay 2021 taxes and the bank starts foreclosing on you based on some mortgage that you have since 1995, guess what? At the time of foreclosure, at the sheriff's sale, who must get paid first? Who? Real estate tax, not the taxes. Real estate taxes. Because the reason I'm saying this, if you guys remember, is that the IRS, so income taxes, they are not part of the priority. Income taxes will be based on when the judgment was filed. Real estate taxes or real property taxes are always, always, always first. Okay? Yes. Nope. That's why I said income taxes or IRS taxes, right? They don't have priority here. Okay? So we have that from the lien chapter 6. We went over this. All right, tax lien exemptions. Who does not want to pay taxes? Raise your hand if you don't want to pay any taxes. Everybody raises their hand, right? So you guys don't support the schools. You don't support the police department, the fire department, right? Emergency services, your roads, the infrastructure. You don't care about none of that, right? Of course not, right? We don't want to pay taxes, period. We're anarchists. My way or the highway. Got it. That's what taxes are for. Sorry. So, if you guys don't want to pay taxes, right? Everybody raised their hand. If you don't want to pay taxes, it's very, very easy. One of the things you have to do is make sure your property is owned or used by religious, charitable, or non-for-profit organizations. That's it. Open up a non-for-profit. Open up a church. Whatever. As long as the property is owned or used, meaning it doesn't have to be used for those purposes. It's owned by those organizations. Okay? Mariah says, well, the roads aren't that great. Well, it depends on where you live. If you're in Newark, yeah, they're like Swiss cheese. There's holes everywhere. Right? Marlon, you're shaking your head. What, Newark or? It's true. Like, I used to live on Murray Street, right? And You come off of Route 21, as soon as you get to Murray Street, it's like pothole, pothole, pothole. Then you get onto Mulberry, like you don't even know how to avoid those holes. On Mulberry, there's no way to avoid those holes, right? You're gonna hit a pothole somewhere. Gilbert, not-for-profit, best thing in the world. It is, but even the NFL quits the not-for-profit status because too many requirements, reporting requirements, too much work. You guys knew that, right? NFL was a non-for-profit until 2014. Crazy, right? Crazy. Anyway, certain totally and permanently disabled war veterans, keyword certain, war veterans, so not all war veterans and not all disabilities qualify for the exemption. War veterans and surviving spouses who do not meet the qualifications of the total exemption, they are entitled to $1,250 a year off of your $15,000 taxes. Thank you for your service. Here's $250 off. Right. I took a bullet for you and you give me $250 off? Gotta be kidding me. By the way, if you reach the age of 65, congratulations, you're now a senior citizen. Here's also $250 off for reaching senior citizendom. If you're both, you get 500. There you go. Woo! So exciting. All right. So the best way to address what Gilbert was saying, non-for-profit. Make sure your properties are owned by a non-for-profit charitable organization, or create your own religion. That's it. If you don't want to, there you go. Call it the real estate religion, or call it the flower religion, or call it the space religion, the Mars religion, the aliens are here, finally everybody agrees with it religion. Whatever you want, doesn't matter. Faith is about belief. So come up with whatever and boom, tax free. I don't know if I said something wrong, but we just went from 8 people on the live down to 4. I guess I hurt somebody's feelings. Anyway, the Joshua, Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. There you go. I like that one. Yep. I like that one. Flying Spaghetti Monster. You said it's real? That can't be real. All right. We have also something for senior citizens if you reach the age of 65 or older. Pastafarianism. All right, I gotta show this to everybody. Are you guys seeing this? Oh, you can't see. I'm sorry. My bad. So, Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. It's called Pastafarianism. That's it. That's really cool. Are you the founder? You and Ron, I'm pretty sure. Is there free pasta? I'm there, right? Crazy. As long as you say it well. You gotta pray to the pasta man. All right, back to this. So, guys, if you reach the age of 65 or older, congratulations. We can freeze you. We freeze the seniors. Now, what are we freezing? We're freezing any increase on the taxes, okay? Increase on the taxes. So, if you reach the age of, nah, this can't be real. Are you serious? Gilbert just, no. Anyway, you guys gonna make me Google it? Guys, back to this. Can't be true. You guys can't be serious. This can't be a real thing. Anyway, so the senior freeze. What it means is that, let's say your taxes are, you're actually showing on the screen. This actually exists. I can't believe it. for those of you watching at home, this is actually a real thing. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, guys, back to this. So, again, let's say your taxes are $10,000. You've reached the age of 65 or older, and next year the taxes go up to $12,000. Well, guess what? You are protected. They freeze your taxes, right? The thing about this that most people do not know is that you're entitled to a reimbursement. What does that mean? It means that I still have to pay the $12,000 taxes or $15,000 or $20,000, and every single year I have to let the government know that I am still 65 or older. I don't know, you might grow younger, you never know, right? But every year I have to appeal what I paid for and get a reimbursement, right? So, and by the way, it's not retroactive. So if you forget, okay, typical, right? If you forget to apply for the reimbursement this year, sorry, thank you for paying the full taxes. That's what it is. Next, there are also rebates available for renters and residents with low income, and there's rebates for mobile homes as well. All right, tax sale. What is a tax sale? If you guys remember, if you fail to pay your taxes, the government can put your property up for sale. So they're going to put it up on an auction, and somebody can go there and pay the taxes for you. Once they pay the taxes for you, you're like, hey, thank you. Right? They paid it for you. The answer is no. They didn't pay for you. They bought the right to get money from you. Okay? So, if you want to make sure you don't lose your home, make sure you always pay your taxes on time. Because if I buy your taxes at an auction, or Gilbert's, one of us, if I buy your taxes at an auction, then you have 2 years to pay me back. If you don't pay me back, okay, after the 2 years, I can foreclose and redeem the property. Okay? So, I'm not going to go there and pay your taxes just for the heck of it. Hey, you're behind on your taxes, let me pay your taxes. No. I'm going to wait until it goes to auction, because only at auction do I get the right to collect the property. You understand? If I pay somebody's taxes because they're behind, I get no rights to the property. But if I pay a certificate, so I win the auction and I get a certificate, then you have to pay me back with interest, right? And in New Jersey, the interest is 18% interest, right? You have to pay me back with interest and, and other fees, like legal fees, recording fees, and all that stuff. You got to pay me back. If you don't, then I'll foreclose on you, and I get the property. All right, we're going to skip the timeshare. We are done with this chapter. Does anybody have any questions? Questions? Any other questions? You guys at home, questions? All right. So if there's no question, guys, we're going to take a quick break. It's 7:21, almost 7:22. We will be back at 7:30 for math. All right. Gilbert, I don't know what you're showing me. I can't see. You're a really tiny screen. I have no idea. You're right, 7:34. No, 7:30. And then I said 4 math. Okay? Make sure you guys have a calculator, please. Your phone does not qualify as a calculator, so you can use the computer calculator because it has to be a plain old simple calculator. Okay? So YouTubers and Zoomers, I'm going to close. Well, YouTubers, I'm going to close this session, and we will join you back at 7:30. See you guys in a bit.